Joining us again is the brand new Democratic leader of the United States Senate, Senator Schumer. Senator Schumer, thank you very much for sticking with us. I want to ask you about the last person who was in a position like yours. After Barack Obama got elected, Mitch McConnell was in your position, and he basically bucked political science. He did an experiment. Take on a very popular president who has a very popular agenda, make every effort to block that agenda without any regard for the polls, and then just sit back and wait for the voters to punish the governing party and reward you for being obstructionist. It seemed crazy and almost outrageous at the time to people who were observing it in the moment, but it worked like a charm for his party. You are not planning to borrow that playbook, though.
Well, we're going to be tough. But, you know, look, and Bernie and Elizabeth agree with me on this. Let's say he proposes, as he said he would, $1 trillion infrastructure bill. You know, a grand public works bill. Now, we Democrats have always believed it. Bernie campaigned on it. But you have to look at the details. We're not going to just go for anything he proposes. It's going to have to be our bill. So, for instance, they've said, we'll do it with tax breaks. You can't build roads and bridges with tax breaks unless you put huge tolls on them that no one can afford to pay back the bonds. Let's say they try to get rid of environmental protections and labor protections. Forget it. So do we say no absolutely on the first day, or another one where I tend to agree more with Trump than I did with Obama and Bush? Trade. I think free trade's been a loser. I voted against NAFTA back in 1994. And if he comes up with a really good trade position, we're not going to just necessarily say no. But we're going to hold his feet to the fire. And I can assure you of this. Anything we're going to support will get almost no Republican votes. That may mean we support him on nothing. But we're not going to sacrifice our principles for the sake of compromise.
But a unified party line vote at this point accomplishes nothing. I mean, can the Democrats do anything alone? Right now,
we can't do anything alone. But if it's really positive, progressive type stuff, may not be, and we pick up a few Republicans, it would have to be with a majority of Democrats in the House and Senate. But the bottom line is, I mean, our main job here is, as I said, hold his feet to the fire. It's not going to be to sit in a room and say, where can we compromise, where we can't. If he proposes things that might, he said he was for closing the carried interest loophole. I'm not going to vote against it if he proposes it. All the Republicans will, but I won't. I think we should close the carried interest loophole. So there are a few examples here, and I'm not going to rule them out. But most of the things we're going to be talking about, whether it's health care or education or transportation or helping the poor or voting rights or guns or choice or Planned Parenthood, we're going to oppose them tooth and nail.
Let me ask
There's no way for compromise on any of those.
Let me ask you about a very hard line edge on that question, which is the Supreme Court. The Republicans took this unprecedented step. They didn't let President Obama make a Supreme Court appointment for almost a year now.
Very moderate, mainstream nominee.
Yeah. A nominee who a lot of progressives would have been very disappointed in, actually, even though he's very widely respected. But that was an incredibly radical thing that the Republicans did. Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon says they stole a Supreme Court seat.
Fair statement.
Didn't they just get away with it? I mean, are there no consequences for it?
Well, the consequences are going to be down the road. The consequences are going to be down the road. We are not going to settle on a Supreme Court nominee. If they don't appoint someone who's really good, we're going to oppose them tooth and nail. Now then, they won't have 60 votes to put in and out of the mainstream nominee, and then they'll have to make a choice, change the rules. It's going to be very hard for them to change the rules because there are a handful of Republicans who believe in the institution of the Senate and don't change the rules. But we are not going to make it easy for them to pick a Supreme Court justice.
Is there an argument to be made, though, if it is a fair statement that that was basically a stolen seat, so it isn't theirs to fill, then in that case, no nominee would be legitimate because that seat should have been filled by President Obama.
It's hard for me to imagine a nominee that Donald Trump would choose that would get Republican support that we could support. So you're right.
And so you would do your best to hold the seat open?
Absolutely.
In terms of your transition from Harry Reid to you for the Democratic leadership in the Senate, one of the things that Harry Reid sort of took on personally in a very ostentatious way was he took on a real personal fight with the Koch brothers, with Charles and David Koch. Talked about them hundreds of times on the Senate floor.
He did a great job.
He did a great job, but the Koch brothers now, today, were treated to the news that the guy who used to run Freedom Partners for them, their political network, is apparently going to be director of legislative affairs in the White House. Which, I mean, it's not official, but that's the reporting today.
And they
that's what's
opposed
going to be
Trump
running it.
you see, here's what's going on here. Trump ran against the Democratic and Republican establishments, against both. Trump, as president-elect, has been totally captured by the hard right. The Koch brothers were opposed to him in the campaign, and that will make him a failure. I said this to him. You know, he's called me occasionally on the phone. I said this to him. I said, if you just get embraced by the hard right, and I named Vice President Pence and a few of the others who are pushing him in that direction, you will be so far away from where the average American is, even the average Trump voter was, the non-bigoted parts of them who were just want to change because they were so upset. You'll be a failure. And I don't think he gets that. He didn't say anything. But I don't think he gets that. I think what I think might happen is the hard right runs the show. Now, they'll fail because they're right-wing ideologues. They're so out of touch with America. Trump just sits back and tweets things. And I called him today in my little speech. I said, we can't afford a Twitter presidency. And I said, for instance, you know, he can tweet about his little friend Putin. But if he doesn't get the intelligence briefings, how's he going to know the bad things Putin are doing? And, you know, you can tweet about saving 800 jobs in Carrier. I'm glad he saved them. What about the 1,300 that are going to Mexico, the 500 down the road at that Rexnord, and the thousands every week that we lose? You can't tweet a policy. So the combination of the hard right running the show, even though Trump didn't campaign as a hard right guy, he campaigned as this populist, sometimes with very bad and racist and bigoted overtones, and then him just out there tweeting, it's not going to work. And we have an opportunity. As the Chinese say, danger is opportunity. So I was distraught right after the election, but I'm now actually invigorated by the challenge and our ability to succeed in this challenge.
Let me ask you, I don't know if you have seen this. I don't want to blindside you with this. This is the latest statement, latest tweet, as you were just saying, the president-elect's latest unsolicited pronouncement on the intelligence community. This was his tweet just a little while ago tonight. You see the scare quotes there. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. We're actually told, intelligence sources tell NBC News since this tweet has been posted, that actually this intelligence briefing for the president-elect was always planned for Friday. It hasn't been delayed. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
Let me tell you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting, hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
Senator Charles Schumer of New York, as of today, the Senate Minority Leader of the Democrats in the Senate for the new Congress that begins today. Please stay in touch over this time. I will tell you that we have not always had the easiest time in the world talking to the leadership of the Democratic Party in the Obama executive branch or in the Democratic Party legislative branch. Rachel, and I hope this is a new era for that,
They can say a lot of bad things about me. Inaccessibility ain't one of them.
I'll hold you to it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Nice to see you.
All right.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.